Welcome to the Film Florida podcast. I'm John Lux, and I'm the Executive Director of Film Florida. Before we get to our interview, please remember to subscribe, rate, and review the Film Florida podcast. If you're not already a member of Film Florida, please consider joining at filmflorida.org. If you like what you hear on the podcast, please consider going to our website and donating $20.22 for our 2022 fundraising campaign. We also have a Film Florida merchandise page. Visit filmflorida.creator-spring.com to purchase Film Florida t-shirts, sweatshirts, coffee mugs, and more. Adam Vernier is an actor, a long-term board member of SAG-AFTRA, and a Florida resident. He's had a very successful career appearing on stage, in television shows, feature films, made-for-TV movies, commercials, and more. Adam's appeared in some of the biggest television series filmed in Florida, including Charlie's Angels, The Glades, Ballers, Bloodline, and The Right Stuff. His recent credits include Queen Sugar, Outerbanks, and Outcast. We talked to Adam about getting into acting, his advice for new actors, the grind that is acting, and more on this episode of the Film Florida podcast. Here's my conversation with Adam Vernier. Welcome to the Film Florida podcast, Adam.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mr. John.
So give us your backstory. Give us an idea where you came from.
Okay, well, I was a child that moved around a lot. My dad was a pilot. I like to blame that on the reason I moved around, but it was more that they were just kind of unstable. I was born in Manassas, then we moved to Sugar Land Run, Virginia, then we moved to Chicago, then we moved to Ormond Beach. Then parents got divorced. We moved to West Virginia. We moved to Gulf Breeze. We moved to New Orleans. We moved to St. Louis, all over the place. So
Wow.
That, of course, like most actors, gives you that ability to make friends fast or recluse. And I think I did both depending upon where I lived. But I got into acting at a very young age. We lived in outside of Chicago in Naperville, and it was, different times, 76, 77. And my mom was listening to the radio, and they said, we're doing a movie and we'd like blonde-headed boys with blue eyes and blonde hair for a casting between the ages of 4 and 6. And I was 5. So we went to the open call, and then I got called back, and it went on and on and on until it came down to me and the other boy. And right before they made their choice, I had a bike accident, knocked out my 3 front teeth, and they picked the other boy. Not sure if that's why, but the movie was The Shining, and it was for Red Rum, little Danny,
Wow.
who would have been named Adam because they named him after the real actor. And from that point on, I guess my parents saw something in me, and I did lots and lots of theater. And theater was the way to go.
So do you remember your first gig that you got?
I remember my first professional. I was 12 years old, and I did on Golden Pond in Pensacola, Florida, to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Pensacola Little Theater. And it was, it was a grueling schedule for anyone, and much less for an 11-year-old. My mother would drive me the 35 minutes every night to go to rehearsals, and then for the plays and the matinees and everything. And I think having someone supporting you, be it able to drive you or just tell you you can do it, makes all the difference in the world. I see a lot of actors that don't have that, and I tell them, I tell the ones that I see when they do have that, appreciate your parents or your aunt or whoever is bringing you here to this audition, because that's, I think, a lot of the battle that actors have, performers in general.
Yeah. Now you have some really great credits on your resume. I mean, just like here's a little bit of a list: X-Files, Diagnosis Murder, NYPD Blue, Becker, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Walker, Texas Ranger, JAG, Army Wives. And those are just a few of the credits before 2010. Is there a story you have about any of those series, or something that I didn't even mention, where you felt like, I kind of made it, I kind of belong here?
Every single one of them. Any job that I get, I feel like, oh my gosh, they've picked me. I know the numbers that go into to the auditions and how I get any job that I get. I'm always like, holy cow, I might actually be talented here. I think the one of the ones that you named, the NYPD Blue, I remember being on the phone with my mom. I was in Los Angeles, and I was talking to my mom, who's retired in Palm Coast. And I remember saying on the phone, I'm like, I've talked my whole life about doing this, and I'm actually doing it. It's happening. I just booked NYPD Blue because it was, a #1 show at the time. And I had just done X-Files, which I mean, that opened the gates for everything, because they just passed me around at the Fox lot. I went from X-Files, which was on the Fox lot, to NYPD Blue on the Fox lot, Dharma and Greg on the Fox lot, Princess and Marine on the Fox lot, Dr. Dolittle 2 on the Fox lot, all within like the first 6 months of being in Los Angeles.
Wow.
And then I booked a national commercial for 10-10-220 and one for DiGiorno Pizza, all within the first 6 months. I'm like, this is easy. And then, of course, reality hits, and it's not easy. And I just got really lucky, and I was the new kid in town. And I do, John, as you know, I work my tail off all the time for work. I mean, that's, it's a job. It's a job to find the work. So when you get it, you just realize how much work went into it.
And now since then, you've had the opportunity to play some great roles in some of the biggest television series that were actually filmed here in Florida: Charlie's Angels, The Glades, Ballers, Bloodline, The Right Stuff. Is there anything that sticks out from any of those about filming in Florida? I know you love filming in your home state.
I do. I'm a father, I'm a husband, and not in that order, husband first, then father. But I love being home. I don't like having to leave. A lot of the shows that I've worked on and have been, that I'm currently working on, are in New Orleans or Charleston or Charlotte. And I don't like leaving my family. That's not why I got into this business. I actually intentionally moved from Los Angeles to Central Florida so that I could raise my family. And this was the place to be. Florida was in general, whether it's Miami or whether it's Pensacola or Jacksonville, things were popping. This was 2003, industrial videos and commercials and everything just going on in Florida. And it was nice. I made a very good living. I didn't have to do anything but be an actor, and it was perfect. But the shows that you stated from Florida, I think the best one that I remember is The Right Stuff. And not just because it's the most recent that we shot in Florida, but they filmed it about 12 miles from my house. So,
Wow.
to go from having to fly and connect and this just to get your hotel room to shoot the next day, to like waking up and doing the lawn and then, oh, I better go get a shower. I've got to be at a set in 10 minutes. It was really, really nice. And then when you finish, to go sleep in your own bed and come home with that high that you have after filming that you usually share with, a stranger in the Uber or a, person at the hotel bar, sharing that with your family is just everything. I really enjoyed that.
Now, in the last few years, you've had some recurring roles on some well-known series as well outside of the state of Florida: Outcast, Outerbanks, and Queen Sugar. Talk about the difference between a role on a single episode as opposed to having a recurring role on some series.
Such a difference. When you go on and do a week guest star or a couple day co-star or whatever on a show, you don't know the crew. You might have worked with this guy there or this girl here, but you don't know them. But when you do, my first big recurring was Outcast, and I did 7 episodes of that. It's shot in Charlotte, and then season 2 shot down in Rock Hill, which is about 35 miles south of it. But you get to know the people, you get to know, everyone on the crew and what they like to do, and you get to go out with them afterwards, and you just really, and beyond the social impact of that, it makes it a lot easier to work. But beyond that, you also get to develop the character. You get to plant seeds. You know where the character's going, so you can say, you know what, I'm going to bring this back around in about 3 episodes, and he's going to do this tick again, or he's going to do this thing again. So you can really build the character, and there is nothing like it. One of the most frustrating things is seeing all this work that is all over right now with all the streaming platforms and everything else, and then not working. It's like all this stuff. This is the best time in the world to be an actor because everything's not under 3 studios or 5 studios or whatever. There's so many different things putting out content. And if you're not working, which, most actors aren't, consistently, it's just one of the most frustrating things in the world.
Well, and you kind of alluded to that. And while some people think being an actor is this glamorous thing, it's really only like that for a very, very small group. The rest of the acting community is more normal, like you. Talk about the challenging process for you to book a gig. What all goes into that?
Oof, wow. There's a lot that goes into booking a gig. I've fallen so in love with the journey of the whole thing. It used to be in the 90s and the early 2000s, your pager would go off and you would, go to a payphone and call your agent and they tell you have an audition and da. And of course it's moved now to check your emails on a text. But from the minute you get the audition, and you read the character breakdown, or you read the gist of what's going on, you have to fall in love with that whole process. What am I going to wear? What I can bring this in, I can bring that, and then I live with my sides. I completely, the sides, the printed material that you're going to be auditioning with. There's a small script, but I live with those from the point that I have them printed until I audition. So if we're going out to dinner with the family, they're with me, even if they're just in my pocket. And, if there's a time that all the girls go to the restroom, my family goes to the restroom, I pull them out and I just kind of go over it. I walk around my neighborhood with it. I memorize it. I go for a jog and I go back and forth with both lines, so that you really live with it. I've got coffee stains on all my sides and things. And then you go and you perform it, and you have to just believe that that's it. This is my performance. And of course, that's the audition. But then if they like it, maybe they want to see it again, a callback. Oh, you want to see me perform again? And then if you book it, oh, you want to see me perform again? But everything you do has to be considered a performance. And you can't have that desperation of like, I got to get this, I got to book this, I need to book that, because that just doesn't work. It's not performing, it's desperation. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it with me as to what kind of breakdown I do with the character. But I love the whole process. I mean, I fall in love with it. It hurts. I was just recently up for a recurring guest star on a show that it came down to me and a couple other guys, I guess. And I was on hold and they checked availability. And then I found out Monday that I didn't get it. So it still hurts. It does. It still hurts. But I also understand the nature of the business. It probably had nothing to do with me. I got that far. A lot of people didn't. So you have to fall in love with that whole thing too. It's just a game.
Well, and I know you're a big baseball fan. And so I use the baseball analogy where like a Hall of Famer hitter fails 7 out of 10 times. And I mean, acting is a lot like that because you don't get a lot more roles than you actually do get, right?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes. I mean, even when I was booking, it felt like I was booking everything. It was still like maybe 1 in 40, 1 in 50, which those numbers are wonderful. If an actor can have that, they can have a great career. But yeah, the numbers are just, if you looked at them, it would drive you insane. And, the fact that people don't realize all the stuff that goes into, the failure and how thick your skin has to be and how you have to have the determination and the ability to just, realize that it really most of the time has nothing to do with you. I love people listening to people that have made it, so to speak, that are household names that get to work and only act and their names on a call sheet more than it's not during the year. Most of them realize what a lottery they won. And they are talented, but there's a lot of talented people out there. And for you to get to the point where your talents are so recognized that they're sought after as an actor, that's the dream. And, it might come when I'm 75 years old. I don't know, but I'm not going to quit. I've been doing this my whole life. I have nothing else. I absolutely love everything about the business. I've learned that I know a lot about the business as I've started teaching and coaching and taping other actors. And I didn't realize how much I knew and how much I could help other actors. And it's so rewarding to do that and see, young people just full of spunk and just ready to go. And I still have that the same way. And I try to tell them, look, you have to just take these rejections that you get and take these when you don't get the part, you have to take it in stride. You have to just appreciate it because it will frustrate you and you will be out of the business if you can't.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I know you're really active within SAG-AFTRA. Tell us about your role.
I got on the board as a elected official. I represent Central Florida in 2006, and I've been an elected official every 2 years. The election comes up, and I have been on the board through all the changes that we've seen in Florida, through all the changes we've seen in the SAG board and the administration. Now, we are now what's called the Miami Local, and that covers all of Florida, all of Puerto Rico, and all of Alabama. I'm the representative for Central Florida, but I have as much of a vote as anybody on the things that we say and do for this area. There's a lot of misconception about what Screen Actors Guild AFTRA, SAG, can do for an actor. And when actors don't get work, they get, oh, the union's not doing anything for me. Or they say, oh, my agent's not doing anything for me. Well, the union's job is not to get you work. The union's job is not to bring the work to Florida, or to the Southeast. Certainly we can assist in any way that we can, but that's not the job. And so you have to realize whose job it is to do what. When we talk about like your agent's not getting you work, when an actor says that, it's like, well, your agent only gets 10%, on a union gig. That's all they get. So expect them to do 10%. With SAG, you have so many people in the state of Florida that are either FICOR or they are eligible to join, but they won't join the union because it's a right to work state. So don't get mad at the union when things aren't going good for you if you haven't joined the union, and like anything, you get into it what you put out of it. And I've benefited so much from the union and the union work that if I didn't have a position on the union, I would be upset, whether it be on a committee or something, because I really believe whenever I book a commercial, if the product is on the stock market, if it's public, I put a percentage of that to there. I have Budweiser because I did a Bud Light commercial for the Super Bowl. I try to get Publix because I have a Publix commercial, but they're not public. I did ADT and I bought Tyco, TYCO, years ago. So I always try to give back and to what helps me. And when a product hires me to be their pitch man and pays me for it, I want to give back to them. And when the union does everything the union does for me, I want to give back to it. So that's why I'm still active in the union.
And talk about why it's important for you to be a member of SAG-AFTRA. I know you feel really strongly about that.
Yeah, I wonder if I would have a different opinion of that if I didn't have my Los Angeles background. I came to Central Florida in 1996 with the sole purpose of getting my Screen Actors Guild card. They weren't merged then, SAG and AFTRA. And in 1998, November, I did a national commercial with Ken Griffey Jr., which made me eligible for the union. That was November 98. And in February 7th, 1999, I moved to Los Angeles. We had a SAG branch here in Florida at the time. And I, with my U-Haul and my dog and $1,800 saved up, I pulled into that SAG thing on Colonial. I paid my $1,300. That wasn't part of the $1,800, but I paid my $1,300 for my union card. And I drove cross country to Los Angeles. I mean, I was never coming back. That was my whole life. I knew how important it was to join the union as an actor in Los Angeles. I didn't stay eligible in Florida like a lot of actors do, and everyone has their choice. I'm not poo-pooing anybody for their choices, but I didn't stay eligible for long. I knew what my goal was. And I think a lot of times people don't know what their goal is, and they listen to an agent or a casting director or somebody else that has a vested interest in you not joining the union because they can take 20, 30, 40% of your checks and blah, blah, blah. And they don't listen to people like me who I have nothing to gain if everyone joins the union. I really don't. I'm not going to compete with the 22-year-old African-American female. We don't compete, but I'm still going to urge her to join the union because if you're a legitimate actor, if you're a professional actor, you have a SAG card and you carry it everywhere you go and you have pride in it. And that's the difference. Any actor you can name has a SAG card. It's what you do. It's like driving without a driver's license. If you, if I can try to find some kind of analogy, when you get your driver's license 16, you're showing your aunts and uncles and you're so proud of it and everything. Same thing with a SAG card, Tom Hanks said it. Johnny Carson asked him, I'm showing my age, but Johnny Carson asked Tom Hanks when he was the first time on the Tonight Show. He said, when did you feel like you really made it as an actor? And he said, when I got my SAG card. And I'm like, yes, exactly. That's when you've made it. You're a professional. You're in the guild of professional actors. And there's nothing like it.
Now, Florida, as we all know, isn't exactly the most union-friendly state. How does that impact you and other members of SAG-AFTRA?
It's tough because Florida is what's called a right-to-work state. So technically, you could enjoy all the benefits of a SAG contract, meaning you could shoot a commercial, and during that shoot, if you went over the 8 hours, you get overtime, and if it rains on you, you get a weather bump, and all the other things that are enjoyed through a SAG contract that aren't enjoyed on a non-union contract. I mean, you can enjoy all those and still not be in the union, and then the next day go off and shoot a $500 non-union in perpetuity blank, product. I don't want to say a product, but blank, and you can shoot that commercial, and there's really no recourse. I like to say that we can, you can no longer put SAG-AFTRA eligible on your resume. Well, how many people look at resumes anymore? It's all digital anyway. You don't get a vote if you, were in the union, but you Taft-Hartley or you're, eligible. You don't get a vote in the national and national campaigns and elections. You don't get your free movie screeners. That's pretty much it. I wish that there was more. I wish that we could come down hard on them beyond a letter, but there's not much we can do to deter people from doing non-union things. And that's one of the things too, is in perpetuity. You have these huge companies that are doing in perpetuity for like $1,000 or even if it's $10,000 in perpetuity. When you're 20 years old and you go do a car commercial in perpetuity and they pay you $10,000 cash, that's great at the time. But that means you can no longer do the competitors ever. In perpetuity. You are married to that brand, and it's so frustrating because people don't know. They don't know, and they haven't done the research on it. They just think I get to be on TV.
So let's get back into a little bit of the pure acting discussion. What's the best advice you give to someone who's just starting out, besides joining SAG-AFTRA when they can?
Don't do it. No, I'm kidding. Of course, no. You have to be in it for the long haul. You really do. If you're in it to be famous, just don't even bother. It's really, that can't be your goal. You have to redefine what making it is in your mind. If making it means that you can provide medical benefits for your family and you can get a pension earned through the union, both of those things are earned through the amount that you make, then you've made it, if that's what you're making it is. If you're making it as, you want to be giving a speech at the Oscars without getting slapped, and for the best picture in 2 years. Well, it's not unattainable. Nothing in this business is unattainable, but it's also not very realistic, and you might fall very short and beat yourself up for it. So I think setting the goals is a primary thing, and setting realistic goals. I want to get an agent. I want to get on a commercial. I want to do a line on a TV show, and then you progress. And as a young actor, I would tell a young actor, you'll also find along the way that the frustrations grow, because then you've gotten the agent, but then you're not getting the auditions. Then you've gotten the auditions, but then you're not getting the bookings. And you booked a co-star, and you're doing a lot of co-stars, but man, you really want to be a guest star where you're there for 10 days and you're learning, and you're intricate to the plot and everything. Every level has its frustrations, and you really have to enjoy where you are. That's the main thing. Just enjoy where you are at the right time, and believe that we are all exactly where we're supposed to be at the right time, as frustrating as that is.
Yeah. Now, I mean, there's a difference between being an actor and being a successful actor. So talk about some of the intangibles that help an actor kind of get over some of those humps.
See, I still don't consider myself a successful actor. I don't know. I mean, I know that I've got a lot of credits and I've been doing it for years, but I mean, I still fall short on, most of the auditions, as most people do. I'm blown away by some of the talents that I see, when I get to tape actors for auditions. I'm blown away at the talent that I see, but I'm also like, I'm using some of the stuff that I see in my performances. I think if I ever got comfortable with it, like, if I ever got to the point where I was turning down projects for one reason or another, I don't ever want to get to that point. I always want to be hungry. So,
well, it sounds like humility is one.
Humility. There we go. Yes. Humility, very much so. I'm just as shocked as anyone that knows me is when I get a job. I'm currently on a show called Queen Sugar, which I'm on the 5th season now that they keep calling me back. I'm not sure why, but I play this very mean police officer named Sheriff Harold Guidry. And I have this horrible accent. Let me see if I can get it. It's important that things look fair. He's very, Southern Georgia. He's a racist. He plants drugs. He's an antagonist to the characters beyond belief. But this is the final season of the show. But every time they call me back, I'm still like, oh my gosh, they're having me back. I'm so excited. And every time, my friends see the part, they don't really understand it. They don't get it. They're like, Dad, I don't understand how you do that. That's just crazy. How do you, it takes a while for that character to be. And then when I'm in it, it sounds actorish, but I'll still talk like that at craft service. And I'll still, I don't talk much on set anyway when I'm working like that. But when I do, it's like, yes'm, just very still there so I don't lose it.
And now you and I have talked in the past about, certain things that you need to do to actually be hireable as an actor. Like, you can have plenty of talent, but if you don't have things that allow you to be hired, what are some of those things for those of us that aren't in the acting world?
I think keeping professional and common sense in check is one of the things. If your agent sends you an audition and you don't get back to the agent right away to tell them that you can get it in or you can't get it in, then it bodes poorly for you. Always being ready. If somebody calls you, I know in Los Angeles, I used to do a lot of the Tonight shows, and I got a really good rapport with the casting person, and they would call me at 10 a.m. and say, can you be to set in 30 minutes? And I lived close, and I'm, yes, I can. And I'd show up not knowing what I was going to do. And then I'd have to, like, I don't know, for one, I had to dress like a Patriot British redcoat. And it was when The Patriot, the movie with Mel Gibson, was coming out, and they had me dressed like this. And they said, what are they going to do to appeal to a wider audience? And then they had someone dressed as a New England Patriot tackle me. So I was there for, 30 minutes to get the suit on and then get tackled and everything. But the reason I tell that story is, if you're not ready all the time, like, let's say I went out the night before and I was, too tired to go. I was too hungover to go in, or let's say I had a full-time job, an 8 to 5, and there was no way I could get out when he calls me at 10 to be there at 10:30. I mean, those are things that you have to figure out a way to negotiate. First of all, being ready is always easy. Just, go to bed early and wake up early. But, with the job and things, I've been very fortunate to have survival jobs that are understanding, or that pay a lot of money in a short amount of time so that you have the free time to work and be ready at all times. I had one called Shots Fired. It was like 4:00 in the afternoon. My agent called me and she said, they need you on set tomorrow morning in Charlotte. Can you make it? Can I make it? What are you talking? There was no way I could drive. I'd been up early. I'd worked out, whatever. So she said, well, there's no flights. They've already looked. So I went home. I looked at the flight. I found a flight. I sent it to my agent, who sent it to casting. They booked a flight. I was on the plane at 7:30 that night, in my hotel room by 9 o'clock, and on set in the morning. It happens like that sometimes. That was an odd story that really did happen, but it does happen like that. So that's the importance of being ready for sure.
So Adam, as you mentioned, you've been a Florida resident for a number of years. Talk about the benefits of being in Florida as an actor.
Well, I think that Florida is a great place for actors to learn the craft. There's some great actors in town and in the state, I should say, that teach, that coach, and you can learn everything you need to learn. Also, that transition that a lot of people have from theater to film and TV is huge, and you can learn that here. But you can also do a lot of commercials, and they are non-union, but you can learn your way around a set. You can learn your way around a whole setup of how it all works and everything. So you don't go to Atlanta or New York or Los Angeles completely blind. Unfortunately, if your goal is to make a living in this business for a long period of time, credits, you can't compare anything to them. So you'll have to get those, but you can get those in Florida. You just have to work really, really hard. So I think Florida is a great place for actors to work, to start and learn. And then once they get credits, they can, move here and then fly out to the other places where things shoot. But things are popping in Florida now like they weren't 3 years ago. I mean, just 3 years ago, it seemed like there was nothing. And now there's a lot of stuff going on in Florida. And that's thanks to Film Florida. That's thanks to our legislator. That's thanks to SAG-AFTRA. That's thanks to everybody that puts in what we're getting out of it. And local governments doing tax breaks as well. Local municipals doing it.
Yeah, those are great points. So where can people keep up on everything that you're doing?
Well, I do have my website, which is my name, adamvernier.com. On Facebook, I'm Adam A. Vernier. On Instagram, I'm Adam A. Vernier. And on Twitter, I'm Adam Vernier _SAG. So friend me, find me. I'm happy to talk to anybody at any time about the business. I absolutely love talking about the business, whether you're frustrated that you're not getting the recurring guest stars or whether you're frustrated that you can't get an agent. I am known to talk at length about how I can help you with the materials. And you can take what I say and use it or not. And what I always say about advice in this acting business is you're going to get a lot of it from your uncle who's never been on a set and doesn't know anything. He's got something he can tell you about acting. I see that girl and she's no good. You're better than her, to people that have been in the business. But always think, what is their motive behind what they're telling me? And if you can keep that in mind and listen to the people that their motive is nothing to do with them, that's the best advice I can give.
I know your schedule is really choppy, and I'm glad we're able to make this work. And I really appreciate you taking some time to share your knowledge and be on the Film Florida podcast.
Well, I thank you so much, John. And even though you are a Chicago fan, I still, the Cardinals are a better team. We know that. But other than that, I love everything about you. And I appreciate what you do for Film Florida and for Florida in general.
I appreciate that, Adam. Take care.
Thank you. You take care, too.
Thanks for listening to the Film Florida podcast. For more information about Film Florida, go to filmflorida.org or visit our social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you're not already a member of Film Florida, please consider joining at filmflorida.org. If you like what you hear on the podcast, please consider going to our website and donating $20.22 for our 2022 fundraising campaign. Check out the Film Florida merchandise at filmflorida.creator-spring.com, and please remember to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast.